We're off. Hello, my name is Brad Bodnar-Chuck, and welcome to the Half a Dozen Hospitality Podcast, where we discuss everything hospitality, from the food on the plate to the teams that make it happen and the community that drives this industry forward. On this podcast, we sit down and chat with some of the most exciting, inspiring, and innovative minds that make up one of the most dynamic industries that there is today. And today, I have the pleasure of being joined by none other than Sydney, Koby, and my one-year-old Lena, who's joining us because of circumstances beyond my control. Sydney, welcome to the show.
Thanks. So excited to be here.
Yeah, good morning. Let's just jump right into it because I feel like, why not? My daughter right now is joining us and playing with your beautiful product, which we'll hold in front of the camera right now. If you're on iTunes or SoundCloud or Stitcher, head over to YouTube so you can check it out. These are Bite. I call them Bite snacks. What do you call them? Just Bite?
Yeah, Bite bars.
Bite bars?
Yeah.
And I'm super intrigued to have you on the show today because I feel like what you're doing is very different, but making a big impact in our food system and the way we look at the food that we consume. So let us know, myself and the listeners, who you are, how Bite Bar became to be, and how you decided that you were going to take crickets and turn them into energy, protein sources, food sources.
Yeah. So I'm the owner of Bite Snacks, a cricket protein company. So I use cricket protein, which is just crickets ground into a fine powder in my energy bars and protein powders. Mm-hmm. And I started it just over a year and a half ago with the bars. I used to be a baker, and I was really fascinated by the idea of using cricket protein because it's a very sustainable form of protein and it's really nutrient dense. Mm-hmm. So I just started playing around, seeing what I could make with it, and I ended up with energy bars, which is just like a great on-the-go snack. And then soon after, I launched the protein powders as well, just because it was like a natural progression, and I had people sort of asking for more of like a pure form of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now it feels like years have gone by, but it's really only been a year and a half.
What was it started up? What was the tipping point for you? Like, where were you? Like, help me understand. Like, when did you actually think like this could be a thing? You mentioned obviously you knew it was sustainable, you knew it was a good source of protein, but was it like an article you read, or had someone kind of tipped you off to the versatility of this form of protein and being something that could be made delicious and also beneficial for you?
Yeah, I mean, so I get asked that a lot, like, you know, what's your aha moment?
Yeah.
But I always struggle with it because I didn't wake up one day and I was like, oh yes, I'm going to start a cricket protein business. Like, no, I think it was an article I read initially, which mentioned the World Health Organization mm-hmm. came out with this super big report. I don't know if you've heard about it. So they went into detail with research that was done on how like sustainable insect protein is and how we could like really farm it on a large scale to help feed our growing population. Mm-hmm. So I found that really fascinating. And then I sort of went down the rabbit hole of research, found out how like nutrient dense it is and everything. And it just made so much sense on paper. But obviously like it's not a normal thing here in North America. Mm-hmm. I mean, around the world, like Asia, Africa, South America, they'll eat different types of bugs and stuff, but like here in North America, it's totally seen as a weird thing still. But you know, there's just so many reasons behind it. And I grew up, in my early 20s, I traveled around quite a bit. And so eating bugs wasn't really like a foreign concept to me.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I just decided I wanted to do something about it and start introducing it to more people because I felt like, you know, other people would be interested in that as well.
Do you feel like, because I think it's one thing to make a delicious product, whether that's in a restaurant or at a bakery or consumables like products like this. It's one thing to make product and then intend for it to be delicious and beneficial in some way, shape, or form. But there's also now with what you're doing, I would assume like an education piece as well. That's something that you encourage and you enjoy, or is it a bit tiresome to always have to be answering the question like, yes, it is crickets, and this is why they are good. This is how we source them, as opposed to like it's just a really good protein bar that you can eat.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've struggled a bit with. There's so many aspects of it. Like, so there's the nutrition, and there's a sustainability aspect, and then there's the aspect that so many other countries eat it. So there's definitely, starting out, it was hard for me to know what to focus on and like what people were interested in. And so like, you know, when you meet someone at a market or something, it's like hard to know what they want to hear first, or like what your 10-second blurb is going to be. But for me, it just always came from like, I always wanted to just have a really good tasting product made with like real ingredients. So that's always what it comes back to for me. But yeah, of course, like the unique aspect of it is the cricket.
Sorry, as you're describing your story, my daughter is devilishly looking to get closer to our gear. And we'll just have to keep adapting because that's just the reality of it right now. So can I ask this question to you? Have you ever had someone come up to you that is really skeptical of what you're doing?
Yes,
and then
all the time.
And then they try the product though, and they're like pleasantly surprised at how much they enjoy it or how much it appeals to them. And then what is that like for you? I always ask chefs or any kind of creators, like, what is it like when you watch someone enjoy or consume your product that may have been kind of a naysayer before? What's the visceral feeling that you have?
Yeah, like that's my favorite thing about like this whole business, I think. It's like, I mean, it happens all the time because it's such a new concept. People come up and they're, you know, unsure about it, and I get all the different types of reactions. But my favorite one is when people are like scared to try it and they're like really, really unsure about it. And it's like, okay, well, you know, it's just an energy bar. It's just made with, you know, dates and nuts, and there happens to be some cricket protein in there. And yeah, and then they try it and they're like, oh yeah, no, this is really good, actually. Like that's my favorite reaction, when they completely do like a 180, and then they're the ones to their friends being like, hey, like this is the best tasting energy bar I've ever had, like, and there's crickets in it.
Do you mind if I try one right now, actually?
Yeah, sure.
This is going to sound like it's kind of like prompted and like scripted, but it really isn't. I'm going to tell you, to be totally honest with you, I've had one other cricket bar. I won't mention who that is.
Yeah, I mean, there's only a handful on the market.
Right. So I've had it, and I have to admit, I was pleasantly surprised as well in that it didn't have any, and I guess I was kind of looking for it too, which I think can also be a bit of a detriment in any sort of product that you produce. If you announce that something is in it, I feel like innately the consumer is almost looking to taste that.
Yeah, definitely.
Which can be at times perhaps a negative.
Yeah. I mean, that's another benefit of cricket, is that it actually has a subtle nutty, earthy taste. So when you mix it with like these type of ingredients, like the nuts and the dates and the gluten-free oats, it really camouflages in there. Yeah. But it doesn't have an intense taste like some other protein products do to start with.
So this is I'm trying the
Ginger. Jiminy Ginger.
Jiminy Ginger. Amazing name. And you
yeah,
said this
mom
is
came up with that name.
Oh, actually. Really?
Yeah.
Shout out, Mom. And you said this is your number one selling SKU?
Yeah, it has become the number one, just because it's such a unique flavor. And I mean, I really love ginger. That's why I came up with it. And then my other two flavors are peanut butter and chocolate. Well, it's actually called chocolate chirp and peanut butter.
Oh, okay.
But like those are obviously two more regular flavors for an energy bar.
Pardon my chewing. It's really, honestly, you really get the ginger. I taste the dates, obviously the nuts. I haven't had cricket on its own. Yeah. But I don't get cricket at all.
Yeah.
I don't get anything unfamiliar, I should say.
Yeah, I get that a lot when I'm doing events and sampling and stuff, as well as people like, oh, like where's the cricket in it? I'm like, it's a very fine powder. Like you would never know it's in there.
So you've also brought the protein as well. Now, if I was to have that, mix it with, I'm assuming, water, or what would you like to see it mixed with?
I definitely usually recommend like a smoothie. People make like their protein rich smoothies, throw some bit of protein powder in there. So that's the chocolate one there.
And if I was to try that on its own,
yeah,
obviously I wouldn't take a spoonful of dry protein powder, but if I was to mix it with, say, just water, would I pick up more quote unquote cricket in that than I would in the bars, or no?
Yeah, I guess more so, but that one has real like organic cocoa powder.
Right. She's excited about that.
And so really, if you were to mix that one straight with water, you'd be getting more of the cocoa taste.
Okay, cool.
You might be able to hint a bit of it in the background, but even still hard to pick up. You sort of have to know like what cricket tastes like, I think.
And can you help us? I'm assuming you've tried cricket by itself.
Yeah.
Can you describe to myself and the listeners what that tastes like?
Right. So like I do normally say like it has a mild like earthy nutty taste, and someone described it to me recently, someone who has another cricket protein company, as a bit what did they say, like malted flavor.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. I feel
Yeah.
like that actually is pretty accurate of the other one that I did have. That's what it kind of tasted to
Yeah.
me like. So if anyone is listening has ever had like a Malteser or like a malted milkshake, it has almost, I don't want to say this is a kind of a negative word, almost like a chalkiness to it.
Yeah.
That's what I found their bar tasted like. Now I don't want to sit here and say that theirs is bad and yours is better, but we will for now say yours is better. I didn't get that from yours at all. So shout out to your Jiminy Ginger not tasting malty or chalky at all.
Well, thank you.
Let's talk about the realities of being an entrepreneur in this space. Let's talk about the reality of challenges, wins, all of those things, because that is just real. So I know you have some news you wanted to drop here today, but before we get to the good stuff, let's talk about the bad stuff. It's all right. Let's talk about the bad stuff. What have been to date for you some of the major challenges that you've had to overcome?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a journey over the past year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Like, first of all, launching a product with cricket protein, which a lot of people see as taboo still, has challenges for sure. Like, you definitely get a lot of crazy looks. Like, people think you're crazy.
So yeah, like I was saying earlier, it's almost easier just launching a protein bar would be pretty quote unquote easier.
So that's the second thing. It's like the protein bar space is like super crowded too. So like people think you're doubly crazy. So like, why would you? Like,
why would you try to make bars and put bugs in them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it was sort of worked in my favor that I went into this a bit naive. Like I hadn't worked in the grocery space. I didn't know how competitive it was and stuff. And like, I was just like, yeah, I think it's a good idea and I'm going to do it and other people are going to like it.
But that, I feel like that ignorance in entrepreneurialism in business is almost beneficial. It helps us.
I think for sure. Yeah.
I think that bliss we get from ignorance is probably what's allowing you to ignore the obvious things that most sane people would say, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
But unless you tried, I mean, it's cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. Unless you tried, you never know.
Yeah.
And now you're experiencing successes from ignoring those cautious signs.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's still like, it's still a lot of hard work and stuff. And I think I also benefit from sort of like the human ability to go through something tough and then you sort of forget about the really bad parts sometimes and you'll like remember the good parts.
Totally.
I think that helps too.
Can you share a particular story that for you is really visceral, like it sticks with you, where you thought, you know what, I can't do this?
Yeah. So I'm a very introverted person.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you're doing well so far.
Thank you. I like to say I'm a outgoing introvert, which is a bit
okay. I've heard of those.
It's a bit it's a bit tricky because it's like, oh, I want to do everything, and it's like, wait, no,
I don't want to. Yeah.
So starting the business, and still almost now, I have to like do everything, including sales, which is really. And
you're doing bookkeeping.
Oh yeah, like bookkeeping, accounting, marketing, production, sales, distribution. I mean, some of those things have been handed off now, but to start, the sales for sure is the hardest thing for me because like one, just like talking to people in general, and two, having to sell them something, and then also selling them something that is so close to my heart. Like my boyfriend will help me at markets and events sometimes, and he's a much more outgoing person in that we're more like extroverted, I guess I should say.
Yeah. Probably why you're together.
Yeah, we're quite different. Yeah. Right. And I think selling something that is your own creation is, I don't know, I find it quite hard because it's like if someone, you react so much more to how someone responds to it, you know? Because if I'm selling,
you're emotionally involved.
Yeah, that's the right way to put it.
And so, what does that look like then? Like if someone says, "Ugh," like does it actually hurt you, or
yeah,
do you,
totally.
How does that show up for you then? Like, are you bummed? Like, are you like visibly bummed, or just internally
No.
you're like, oh, that sucks?
But yeah, it's more internally.
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely gotten better at it, but you know, starting out, this is my first time. It was like my first time putting something out into the world and trying to sell it to people. So it's definitely been a learning curve on how to like not take stuff personally.
Yeah, I think through all of this process, you learn to have a bit of a thicker skin.
Yeah, for sure.
That does pay dividends down the road. And I think when it comes to things like having to sell your product, because selling itself, like selling, the practice of selling really does take a certain personality and a certain mindset. Not everyone sells the same way, and everyone has their own unique way of selling. And I say this coming from a long background of being in sales. And my way isn't necessarily your way. But I think what you do have going for you, never having been in the room when you've done your sales pitch, but I think what you would have going for you is the fact that this is, like you said, so near and dear to your heart. And introverted or not, that comes through in how you talk about your product. And people are attracted to that. And whether or not they like their first bite or not, they're going to like your story, and they're going to like the fact that this is, for lack of a better term, your baby right now. And I think that comes through. So that to me is what people find attractive. And I think that brings people towards the brand. You're not just someone who's selling a product. You're someone who's selling a product that, like you said, means a lot to you.
Yeah, definitely.
Wins. Let's talk about wins, because as much as the challenges kind of define us as we move forward, the wins are amazing to celebrate. So can we highlight some things that have happened since Byte has become a business to now, which is how long ago? How long did it start?
About a year, just over a year and a half ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in a year and a half,
Yeah.
you've experienced these wins. What are your milestones?
Yeah, I mean, like everything. I mean, look, I have a product and it has nice packaging now, and
Amazing
it's on a
packaging.
shelf. And,
yeah.
yeah, no, I recently launched on Amazon.ca, which was very exciting for me to be able to like go on Amazon and see your product there. It's pretty freaking cool, and it's doing really well so far. Has a lot of good reviews now.
Good.
Yeah. And yeah, I got some really great news last week, which I was briefly telling you about before we started the podcast. It's not entirely finalized. I haven't signed the contract with them, but there's a national distributor that wants to take my product on and launching it in all these stores right away, which is super exciting. Because that's sort of been like, you know, the dream since day one. It's like, you know, get out there into all the stores nationwide. Is
there an ideal store for you? I know some of the people that I've had on the show that create a product, consumable, they kind of have their avatar of their ideal store. Like a lot of people want to be in the /Amazon /Whole Foods of the world.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to be in certain spots. Do you have that list? Or are you like, hey, I'll go anywhere with anyone?
No, I do have that list. I mean, starting out, it was definitely Whole Foods for sure. Also like MEC. I think that'd be so cool. They have a good bar section there. It has changed a bit since I know more about the industry. So like now also places like Choices and Nesters and any of the smaller stores as well, that really stores that focus on like more natural food products.
Right.
Because I think that's really where my product would fit in and do well. Yeah, unfortunately, I found out after getting started that Whole Foods does not want to take any cricket products yet, which is so backwards because like all the other grocery stores are like now keen on it. You think that Whole Foods would be the first, but like, yeah, so hopefully they'll come around to it soon.
Have they given you kind of reasons why they're kind of slow?
So yeah, the head buyer said that, you know how like Whole Foods likes to do really good background checks and stuff. Yeah. So it's just, they haven't done that yet for cricket. Oh, okay. And they have to do that before they're going to take on a cricket product.
That's fair.
Yeah, it is fair. I just want them to hurry up and do it.
So if you're listening, and I'm pretty sure all of the board of directors with Amazon /Whole Foods listen to this podcast. So if you're listening, ladies and gentlemen, please speed up the process, do the cricket research, and get Sydney in and on your shelves ASAP.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon is on it. Like, I can be on Amazon. It's just the Whole Foods side. Yeah.
So we talked about kind of your ideal grocer. Let's talk about your ideal client. Who do you feel like the Bite bar is for? I mean, you mentioned it's even like safe for Lena here, who's 1 year old. Who else do you feel like the Bite bar is for?
So when I say this, it gets me into a bit of a trouble with like marketing people, but I'm like, everyone.
Right. Right. They want to keep going. Sorry. They want to hear you say a certain niche. They want it. Lena, we're trying to record a show. You're pulling out the cords. We are still recording. They want to hear you say something like, I want to sell to 20-year-old males who like mountain biking and are come from this background.
Yeah. So yeah, I've sort of like, I have like a few different defined target markets now, but one of them for sure is like millennials, active millennials with young families, you know, sort of living in more urban areas and stuff who enjoy the great outdoors. Yeah.
But it is difficult because you really do, as an owner of a business, you do want to sell to everyone.
Yeah. And also like when I created my bars, I had in mind that like I was creating a product that's like family friendly and really is like my niece started eating it when she was like maybe even before she was 1. I don't know.
Oh, amazing.
And then also like I'll have, you know, people who are a lot older eating it too. So I really think it's for everyone, but obviously like there's people that are more inclined to purchase it.
Right. Has there been anyone to date, and I think this is reality of the world we live in right now, of like social media and people being accessible, and obviously marketing is a big piece of any business. Has there been anyone that you've seen or heard that has tried your product and you're like, wow, that's pretty rad?
You mean like famous person?
Or not necessarily famous, just someone you respect, someone you think is really cool, and you're like, wow, I can't believe they're supporting my product.
Huh. I don't know if this is really what you're asking, but I always think it's neat when like vegetarians or vegans will like try it, because they're like, I've definitely, you know, I've had this conversation with a lot of vegetarian vegans where I'm just sort of like presenting the facts to them, and then it's like, well, and now, you know, if you want to try it, that's cool. If you don't, that's also cool. But yeah, the ones that are like, yeah, I don't eat any animal products, but like this makes sense. And I'm like, yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's cool. So you can kind of bridge that gap for them. Yeah. And again, go back to the education piece of, again, it being so sustainable and such a great source of protein.
Yeah. And I think I relate to that one because I was a vegetarian for a few years for the sustainability reason. Okay. Just because I was like, got like very overwhelmed with the factory farming stuff, and I was like, didn't want to support that. Right. So yeah, the sustainability aspect for me really is important, and I like when other people see that and understand that. Can
we talk a bit about then the sourcing, what that looks like? Where does one buy, I'm assuming, hundreds and hundreds of pounds of crickets or cricket powder?
Yeah. My most asked question.
Oh, is it? Oh,
where do you get your crickets from?
I hate asking typical questions, but
no, it's an important one. Yeah, so there's one farm in Canada and it's in Ontario. Okay. So I get all my cricket powder from them, and they grind the crickets into a fine powder for me. So like by the time it gets to me, it's just like another ingredient that you can just use in your recipe.
Wow. And did you feel the need to, or have you visited this cricket farm, and what was that like for you?
I haven't had the chance to myself yet. I will in September, which I'm really looking forward to. My dad did actually, because he happened to be in the area, so he went and got like a proper tour and like took all pictures. But it's like it's a family run farm. It's like 2 or 3 brothers. So I've kept in contact with them pretty well. It's not like it's some like big operation that I'm like sourcing my ingredients from. And like the crickets are like considered free range and they're organic and gluten free. So it's like, it's a pretty tight ship that they run there.
Have you now become a bit of a cricket expert? Meaning, like, if you and I were out on a farm late at night and there was like a cricket making a noise, could you tell me like how big it was, or what breed it was, or what they were actually saying?
No, maybe if I spent more time on a cricket farm, I could. Right. But I have learned like a lot of random facts about crickets that obviously I never thought I would know.
Can you share a couple?
Yeah, like crickets, they naturally live, or the type of crickets that I get, which are Asheta Damascus. I'm probably saying that wrong. Okay, that's all right. We'll put it in the show notes. So they're really small guys, and they naturally live for like 6 to 7 weeks. Okay. And crickets, actually, they make that sound that you hear. That's towards the end of their life, they start to make that sound. Oh. And the farm that I source them from is they just they harvest them near the end of their natural life, so they're allowed to live like they're almost their full life.
Yeah.
And this type likes to be kept very warm, and they like to like hide in little places. So the farm has all these structures the crickets are allowed to like crawl around in. And yeah, what else can I share?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think you got I don't know the name, but I think you got the name pretty spot on. So well done.
There's other types out there, but the most common one in North America is this one.
Can we talk a bit about, I think I would be remiss not to call attention to the fact that you are a young female entrepreneur. And I feel like a lot of our listeners, both male and female, are intrigued by stories like this. And I actually am seeing now more and more on my show, whether it is products like this or businesses like yours, or in the restaurant space or in the hospitality space, more and more women are creating things on their own and kind of owning it, if you will. So what is it like for you? Is it just like another day, or have there been challenges that you can share that you've dealt with, the stigmas perhaps that if young females are listening or older females are listening, that they could use to help them kind of get over those humps and barriers to follow their dreams and make it a reality?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think I sort of went into it like a bit naive, and like I have a tendency to do this with things in my life where I'm just like, yeah, I can do this. I'm going to do it, and then deal with the consequences after. But yeah, especially being young is one that you mentioned for sure. And yeah, being female as well. It's also both of those things definitely, I think, presented unique setbacks. And that just like, you know, walking into a grocery store and like, you know, they're like, oh, it's just this little girl who's trying to sell me a cricket bar. Like, so yeah, I definitely have to like, I like try to build myself up and like make myself seem larger than I am, and like definitely thought process that I'll like, yeah, pump myself up too.
How do you do that? What does that look like when you say pump yourself up? I picture you now like in your car before you go in listening to like Eminem or something to get in the right mindset. How do you, or is it just like self-talk, or is it you're like practicing your talk the night before, or how do you pump yourself up? How do you get in the right mindset?
Yeah, I think it's more like, well, I definitely like to listen to good, you know, pump up music in my car. But yeah, I would like, I guess I still do this sometimes too. Like it'll be more self-talk, like just like, all right, confidence. Pretend that I'm a large man.
Oh, do you actually do that?
Yeah, sometimes it goes through my head. I'm like, okay, just act like a very confident old man.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
How
does that sound really weird?
No, I mean, I don't know, kind of. But hey, whatever works. I'm always just intrigued by what kind of puts people in the right headspace to do what they do. Because again, it can be very daunting at times. Like you said, there's a stigma attached still, unfortunately, with female entrepreneurs, and I think there's even more stigmas attached to a young female entrepreneur, where they would look at you coming in if you're sitting in a boardroom, and typically these boardrooms are probably filled with. They're used to seeing men come in, and they're probably men themselves. Yeah. So they have this like this new paradigm to now look at, like, oh my God, like who is this and what is she doing and how is she doing it?
Yeah, and like even I think a lot of that is even subconscious reaction. Is that the right way to say it? It's like you look at like an older man and people automatically just have more confidence in like what they're saying and stuff. It's like I'm sure like innate. My brain does that too. It's like not even, it's just built into our society. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it is. But again, I think that reality is changing, if I can say, because of people like you. Yeah, I'd like to hope so. I hope it's getting easier for people. How much are you open to, or do you allow for yourself to kind of step in front of this brand and be more of a face? Because I've now known you for the 29 minutes and 21, 22, 23 seconds. And I feel like there's so many young people, both male and female, that would love to hear your story. Are you open to stepping in front of this train that is Bite Bar, or no? Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do that now. Hence the podcast here and other things. Yeah, that's definitely been a learning experience too. Or I think I was just trying to ignore it for a long time because I'm so introverted. I'm like, I just like want to create a cool product and company, but like I don't want anyone to know who I am. And that's like totally not.
That's okay though. It kind of reminds me of, do you know the artist Banksy? Have you heard of Banksy?
Yeah.
So that kind of same idea where
Yeah.
he's creating some amazing stuff, but no one, quote unquote, actually knows who he is. But I also think we are living in a time where things are so accessible, and people do love when companies are accessible.
Yeah, people do like want to know your story and want to know about you, and like then they want to support that too. So I've been trying to be more active in sharing my story and stuff. And it is becoming easier too. I think it's becomes easier with practice for sure. But like I had my Instagram account for like a year before I ever put a picture of myself on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Like, and I still remember that first day of putting a picture of myself, because it was like, all right, I'm doing this.
Yeah, but again, I think there's so much value to that these days, especially when your story is as unique as yours is, and being able to step in front of that and celebrate yourself a bit, unselfishly or selfishly, to say like, I am doing this, and this is actually really rad.
Yeah, it is fun. Yeah, I do take like great pride in it, but it's just hard as a huge introvert. Yeah.
Which keeps coming up. So you've done amazing things with this brand in a short amount of time, and I don't know how much of a planner that you are, but I'm a big fan of the question of like, what's your 5-year plan or 10-year plan or 15-year plan? So help myself and the listeners understand, where do you see this brand in 5 years? Where do you see it in 10 years? Is it global? Is it all over the world? Is every mountain climber, mountain biker, yogi, weightlifter, is everyone consuming this product? Like, where do you see it going, and why?
Yeah, for sure. I've actually been revisiting my goals recently, and with this distribution news, now like some of those goals are like actually happening, not just like
not just an idea. Now it's real.
But yeah, like even 3 years from now, I'd like it to be throughout North America, and then like 5 to 10 years, I'd like it to be like international. And I want Bite Snacks to be like the family friendly cricket brand, like Bob's Red Mill for oats.
I know
Bob's
it.
Red Mill.
Yeah.
Like,
shout out Bob's.
Yeah. Like if someone was like, oh, I'm gonna go get like cricket crackers, we'll get the Bite Snacks ones, because that's the cricket company.
Are those coming, cricket crackers?
I'd love to eventually. Yeah.
Have you like, do you have like a demo kitchen where you've tried these things out?
I haven't tried doing crackers yet. I'm pretty confident I could do them, because crackers are pretty doable with a substance like cricket powder. But yeah, I'd love to have like different product lines.
How often do you do like research like that on stuff you could be doing to expand? Obviously, the protein powder, you have the bars. Is it something you're constantly investing time into? Is looking at diversifying?
I wish I could do that. Like I could do that all day, every day. But
you enjoy that. You enjoy that aspect of it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I can't, or else I would never get anywhere with the products I currently have.
So is that part of the plan then, if I can ask? Like, is the 5-year, 10-year plan not only getting your product in more stores and more people's hands, but also growing your team? Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. I'd like to have like, more people on my team, be able to support more people with like a nice lifestyle and stuff. And
And right now your team is you and your boyfriend and your dad making some trips to some cricket farms.
Yeah, my family's been very helpful. Actually, like my mom helps as well in different aspects. So does my sister. Yeah. And my stepmom. Yeah. Lots of people are helping in like small chunks, but I'm the only one who's fully in.
Right. Yeah. And how is that for you? Do you take pride when you're seeing, and I'm just going to paint a picture here for myself. Like I'm picturing your family sitting around the table, like labeling boxes together. Is that
almost? Well, we don't.
She's fine. She has a bump. She's good. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do like different tasks together, but like my mom for sure has spent a lot of time sitting at a table stamping like best before dates on wrappers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a family affair. Yeah. It's what you do.
And like, we did Car Free Day a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
or I guess it's only week. Yeah,
on Main Street.
Main Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so my boyfriend was there all day, and then my sister And her now fiance also came and helped out for most of the day.
Awesome.
And like,
so imagine they're like fielding questions
Yeah.
and talking to everyone, sampling everyone on it.
yeah, exactly.
So they've become kind of pseudo employees as well.
Yeah, and that was their first time helping, but like I've had other family members, help
And-
in those.
And how did they do?
Great.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, they already know like a lot about the product and everything, right? So
Kind of through osmosis.
yeah. And just, general, they eat it a lot as well. So
Yeah, I bet. This podcast, Sydney, I do my best not to repeat questions, but I have one that I asked someone a while ago, and she actually happened to be a female entrepreneur as well. I don't know if that's just because, but I'm going to ask it to you as well. And it is, and I guess also because my daughter is here, and she just turned 1. If you had to describe where Bite Bar is right now in regards to liking it to a child, is Bite Bar crawling? Is it still drooling? Does it have teeth? Is it walking? Is it crying? Is it making noises like that? Like, where is it at in these stages of growth?
I think it's like learning how to stand, when like babies are like Bambi legs,
Yeah.
like trying to learn how to.
Lena knows that all too well right now.
Yeah, I think it's at that stage. I mean, it's got crawling down. It's not quite walking on its own yet.
Right.
Though.
Still kind of wobbly, but making efforts.
Yeah.
Cool.
Needs a hand.
Like this sometimes.
Yeah.
The 2 questions I do ask every guest, and they'll be the last 2 ones I ask you today, are these. Are you ready? They are. It is. Number 1, the half a dozen have-tos. So the show is called Half a Dozen Hospitality. So I have for you the half a dozen have-tos. Stay with me here. What I need from you is 1 to 6 things that you've done in your life that you feel like our listeners have to do. It can be related to being an entrepreneur. It can be related to crickets, whatever you want. But what are 1 to 6 things you've done in your life that you feel like our listeners have to do? And I didn't prompt you for this, so it's kind of putting you on the spot. But that's kind of the beauty of the question.
Yeah. All right. So like anything.
Anything. Can be like a movie you saw, a
Okay.
record you listened to, a trip you've taken,
Okay.
a meal you've eaten, something you've experienced in your life that you feel like the people listening right now have to do.
Okay. Well, with regards to food, I think that you definitely have to try cricket protein. Because, like, why not? Okay. So I'm a big traveler. I love traveling and stuff. I would definitely say travel somewhere that you don't speak the language, and the people, like the place you're traveling in, like they don't speak English or your language, and it's in like it's not new, it's a different alphabet too. It's like can't read signs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like, out in Taiwan, like outside of Taipei is like my biggest example of that is just like, so like nobody spoke English and just like couldn't understand any maps or anything.
When were you there?
Like 4 or 5 years ago now.
And how did that come onto your radar? How'd that come onto your map, if you don't mind me asking?
That one was super random. I just had like 3 more weeks left of traveling, and I was like, where am I going to go? Let's do Taiwan. Yeah, I used to do a lot of traveling in my early 20s.
Okay. I feel like, sorry if I can for a second, I feel like what you're doing right now with your business is actually like that a lot, like the Taiwan you just described. It's like that because you're lost a bit and you're uncomfortable. And I feel like that's what needs to happen for anyone to grow. It's so easy to be comfortable and like you said, travel to places where you can read the signs and you know the language. But it's when you go to those places that you don't know anything and you truly are out on a limb and out on your own, that's when you start to learn so much. Again, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but that to me is what like starting a business is like. You're all these things that you didn't know before, you're now becoming either really well versed in or an expert in.
Yeah. Or it takes you a long time to learn them.
Yeah, exactly. And then
like
having
accounting.
Yeah, exactly. But having patience with yourself as well. Do you know what I mean? Because if you get frustrated in that space, it's not going to serve you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted. Any others that pop into your head?
So yeah, another one with regards to traveling, sort of similar thing. Live somewhere or like being somewhere for a period of time that the minority and there's like not a lot of you, I think is also very eye-opening to be like, oh.
Where was that for you?
I lived in Malaysia for a bit.
Dang, where haven't you been?
Yeah, so on Borneo, Malaysia, where there's like not a lot of white people around and stuff. And I think that's also just very eye-opening.
And powerful, again, like telling a story of like getting lost a little bit.
Yeah, and realizing that like your culture is like not like the culture of the world.
Yeah, there's other ways to look at things.
Yeah.
As Lena is just destroying her Jimmy Ginger?
Jiminy Ginger.
Yeah. So
I'm impressed because usually like kids, I mean, I guess I didn't give her the option of having the chocolate one, but usually that's the
yeah, you know, we haven't given her much chocolate. I think Lindsay, my partner, is a bit apprehensive just because of the caffeine content of chocolate.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even think that.
But Lena just got her teeth, so she is helping herself. And this is not scripted at all. She legitimately is crushing this bar.
You know, maybe half of it's falling down her shirt. But that's okay.
That's probably due to the lack of teeth, I think. Any other have-tos? I love those ones because to me, they speak to kind of the same idea of, getting uncomfortable a bit. It's so powerful doing that.
Yeah, that's definitely a theme in my life. Okay, so I'll try to do something a bit different for another one. Go to Red Hot Chili Peppers concert.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Where did you see them and when?
I've seen them twice in Vancouver.
Okay.
Like whenever I would be in the same city, I would pay anything to go see them.
And what about
they're just like amazing live. Like they're so into what they do and like such a funky band. And
they've been around for quite a while.
Yeah, like they know what they're doing. They put on a very good show.
Yeah, very good. She likes these a lot. Any other have-tos?
I don't know. Yeah.
Those were good ones.
Wait, scuba diving. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Love scuba diving.
Anywhere in particular, or just get in the water?
I like tropical places where there's all the fish going on, but like, I feel like it's like going into another world. It's so cool. I think everyone should give it a try.
I've always wanted to, and that what you just said resonates with me so much. It's another world. It totally is, and I think that's part of my hesitation is because you're truly out of your element. Like that is not where we're supposed to be. We were supposed to be on land.
Yeah,
and there's so much down there that is unknown.
And I think it has a bit of a steep learning curve because it's such a new experience. But when you get over that and then you're like comfortable down there, it's like you're floating in outer space. It's so cool.
Yeah. I also feel like my ears wouldn't do well down there because my ears don't do well with planes. Like taking off. So
it can just take practice.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you start your lessons in like a pool. So you practice going down and like equalizing your ears. Yeah.
I feel like you've done a lot of this.
Is scuba diving? Yeah.
Yeah? I feel like you've done.
That's why I was in Malaysia.
I feel like. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like we should do a podcast just called "Where Has Sydney Traveled To?"
That could be a long one.
Are you named after Sydney?
No.
Oh, okay.
My parents just like the name.
Okay, I didn't know if your parents like traveled to a certain city or something.
No.
Okay. The last question I have for you, as Lena is literally maybe we'll put that photo on social media, but is the half a dozen haven't yet. So kind of like a bucket list, if you will.
Oh, okay.
So 1 to 6 things that are on your list that you haven't experienced yet. Obviously, we're crossing off the big one right now of getting your brand into many, many, many stores, which is amazing. I'm sure the contract's going to get signed in no time. But is there anything else, again, work-related or not, that you haven't done yet, anywhere you haven't traveled to yet that you want to? What would be on your list of haven't yets?
I haven't gone to Iceland. I'd love to go to Iceland.
Yeah, Reykjavik.
Yeah. I actually studied geological engineering in university.
Say what? Wow.
So there's a lot of like cool geology stuff going on there too.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd love to go there.
I feel like you've done a lot.
I want to become like a really badass businesswoman when I'm older.
Why not now?
I mean, like now, but I feel like I'm working towards it.
Who would be someone that you look up to?
Like the women on Dragon's Den, like Arlene Dickinson and like Michelle Romano. I don't know what her last name is, but like they're pretty badass. I'm a big fan of and her name escapes me right now. I follow her husband, and I follow a bit of her because of her husband, but the woman that started Spanx. Yes.
Do you know her story?
Yeah. So the podcast, How I Built This.
Okay.
she told her story on that.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
That's one of my favorite episodes of that one. I
love that story because it shows you how you just have to move. In that she didn't have I think she sold into like Macy's or something like that, and she sold far more SKUs than far more product than she actually had. So she had X amount of hours to find a way to produce all these products.
Oh, really?
For this
I
buyer.
don't remember that part.
Yeah. So just again, things like that. Like I think you have to move before you feel like you're quote unquote ready.
Yeah.
Like having a kid, people always say like, "Oh, I'm not ready to have a kid yet." You're never gonna be ready to have a kid.
Yeah.
Starting your own business, you're never gonna be ready. Like, what does that actually look like?
Yeah. And I like her story too because she was bringing something to market that I feel like I can relate to, because people at the time, Spanx weren't a thing. Mm-hmm. Like people are like, what is this? It's not pantyhose.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, this is a really great thing. And people probably looked at her like she was crazy.
Yeah.
But now Spanx are like a name in its own.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to do that with cricket protein.
Yeah.
Yeah. And why not? Right?
Yeah.
What do you think, Lena? You seem to have enjoyed it. What else is on your haven't yet list?
Yeah, haven't yet. I'd love to go to some of the like best restaurants in the world.
Oh, okay.
So like mostly all my traveling has been like super budget so far because of my circumstances. But I'd love to like, on Chef's Table, like those ones that's like 30-course meal and like
$700
experience. Yeah.
Are there any names that come top of mind? No?
So there's that one Chef's Table episode with the restaurant that's in like Norway or Sweden. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really want to go to that restaurant.
Is it the restaurant that speaks to you, or the food, or the people, just like everything?
Both, like the chef's story, how he's like trying to reintroduce like traditional, like Nordic. No, yeah. I'm not remembering which country.
Just go watch the video. Yeah. But just the idea that he's trying to like pay homage to how it's been done for so many years.
Yeah. And like put a new spin on it. Yeah. And it was also like 30 courses or something.
And I feel like what you're doing is probably not new, meaning people have probably, and feel free to interject here, people have probably been using insects, like you said, other parts of the world use them all the time as far as a source of food and a source of protein. But it's probably been going on for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Like we're really the odd ones out here in North America and like Western culture not considering
insects.
those. Yeah. Most other cultures have some type of like insects in their like history of food or culture. Right. Yeah.
In their diet.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you haven't tried cricket protein, try it. If you're able to, get onto Amazon.ca, punch in, what do they search? Just Bite or Bite Bar?
Yeah, like Bite, Cricket Bar, or just like Cricket Bar. It is only on .ca right now, though. I've had friends go on to .com and they're like, I can't find your bars. I'm like, that's a whole nother platform.
A whole other business.
Maybe in like 6 months, I'll be on that one.
I bet 6 weeks because it's going to crush it on .ca. I want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you, one, for being so adaptable. This wasn't how I saw this playing out with my 1-year-old as she crawls around.
It made it a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I think it kind of broke the ice a little bit and allowed it to be a little more relaxed. But I do want to be serious for a second and celebrate what you're doing. And I would love to do round 2 of this with you without my daughter. But I want to say kudos to you for doing this, because this isn't easy, meaning starting your own business, coming onto podcasts, going into boardrooms, stepping into meetings, all of these things. It's not easy. And that in itself for me is impressive, and I want to celebrate that. And I want to help fly your flag and your company's flag as much as I possibly can now moving forward, because you could have chosen something easy. You could have kept doing what you were doing, but you've decided to challenge the norm and try something different. So kudos to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, my pleasure. I encourage you guys, if you are out there and you haven't tried her product, please do engage with it. You can buy it now locally here in Vancouver at numerous locations, I'm sure.
Yeah, like the Donald's Market, Nata grocery store and stuff.
Amazing. And then if you want to engage with Sydney and her brand online, best to do it where?
Instagram is bite_snacks. Or like my website, bitesnacks.com.
Amazing.
Yeah. And
we will be dropping this episode. We'll drop in a couple weeks. And by that time, the contract will be signed.
Yeah.
So you and I will do like a high five in the midair to each other. And all the listeners will celebrate that for you as well. But keep doing what you're doing. Please, let's do round 2 of this again sometime. Thank you guys.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, Sydney, for allowing me to have my daughter Lena here to distract us just a wee little bit. Thank you guys as always for tuning in week after week. Please keep supporting the podcast. If you don't already, follow Sydney and her brand. Support her business. Lena likes it. You can see it on her chin. She loved it. Have an amazing day. You know what to do. Until next time, guys. Be good and do good. That's it. We did it. Well done.
Thank you.